Imagine this. You're flipping through your phone late at night. The screens glow the only light in the room when a headline stops you cold. Mary J. Blige, the queen of hip-hop soul, allegedly bolting from the spotlight after her name gets tangled in Sean Combs' explosive legal mess. You blink, scroll, and wonder, has the voice behind No More Drama just stepped into the biggest drama of all? This isn't just a rumor mill spinning. It's a tale of music royalty, shadowy lawsuits, and whispers that Mary's on the run, all alleged and for entertainment, but stitched together with the real facts we've got about a scandal that's shaking the industry to its core. Mary J. Blige is a legend carved from grit and gold. Raised in Yonkers, New York, she turned pain into platinum with hits like Real Love and Family Affair, stacking 9 Grammys and a voice that's carried hip-hop soul for decades.
And the Grammy for female R&B vocal performance goes to Mary J. Blige.
Oh, praise you, Father. Thank you, Jesus. This is a great night for me. Wow, I guess let me just be brief about this. I done thanked everybody that I could possibly think of, but let me just say this. It's in the valley. And I don't think you can have a peak if you don't ever have a valley. And it's in the valley when we learn who we really are. And it's in the peaks when we learn who we really are, because success exposes who you really are. And I want to use this success to build bridges, not to burn them. Thank you, everybody, very much.
Diddy gave her that first shot, producing her debut, What's the 411, and shaping her raw talent into a sound that defined an era. They've been tight ever since. Collaborators, friends, a duo who've shared stages and studio magic, like Be Happy and those iconic bad boy vibes. But now, with Diddy locked up and facing a mountain of legal heat, Mary's name is allegedly popping up in the chaos, and insiders say that she's nowhere to be found. Diddy's fall is a saga on its own. He's in Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center, charged with racketeering, trafficking, and transportation for adult work. Sirius claims that he's pleaded not guilty to. It all started when his ex, Cassie, sued him, alleging years of harm. Her lawsuit was settled fast, but it unleashed a storm. Over 120 accusers, via attorney Tony Busby, claim SA and coercion at freak-offs, wild events tied to his indictment, allegedly involving adult workers and threats. Feds raided his LA and Miami homes last year, nabbing tapes, and he's been denied bail several times. Judges call him a risk. Mary is not in the indictment, but whispers on X and YouTube allege that her name has surfaced, and she's supposedly running scared. What's the buzz? Posts on X, like one claiming Mary J. Blige is on them Diddy tapes and she wasn't a victim. Set it off. No video is public, but rumors say that she could be caught in something messy. There's no court filing naming her yet, but the chatter is relentless. Allegedly, insiders say that she's ducked out, dodging the spotlight as Diddy's case heats up. Her team is silent, but their history is no secret.
The same question all over and over again. I hate that.
So what's the one question that nobody has asked you that you want them to ask?
I don't want them to ask me anything.
Ah.
So don't ask me.
Oh, okay. So you'd rather not do the interview at all?
I'd rather not.
Huh.
Diddy found Mary at 19, a shy talent with a demo that blew him away. He said in interviews that she was the truth, a voice that he molded into a star. They've collaborated on tracks before, her soul bleeding over his beats. She's praised him too. And they've also partied together. Those bad boy bashes in the 90s, all glitz and glamour. But Diddy's freak-offs paint a darker picture. Alleged coercion, recordings, and fans wonder, was Mary there? Allegedly, she's panicking, fearing that her name is a pawn in his defense or a target in the suits. Mary has had her own battles, openly. She's talked about her divorce from Kendu Isaacs. 15 years, a messy split with millions in spousal support fought over. She's also shared tales of her past struggles with substances and heartbreak in My Life, her documentary, Turning Scars into Strength.
While I was in the marriage, and for years I've been just insecure, didn't like the sound of my voice, didn't like what I looked like, didn't like anything about myself. And then when I got married, the person just really watered that seed of my own self-doubt and my own insecurity and made it worse.
Yes.
And I heard TDJ said, what you say about yourself and how you think about yourself is way more important and effective than what anybody else can say or think about you. So if you speak positivity over yourself, and that's what I started doing. So my first big confession was an album I put out called Good Morning Gorgeous. I didn't believe I was gorgeous ever, but I had to say something I didn't believe, that was bigger than me. And then it began to manifest in my heart. My heart is gorgeous. My mind is gorgeous. I'm a beautiful person, So you have to believe that about yourself.
Her net worth is pegged at $20 million, but she's kept it low-key lately, living in Jersey, away from LA's glare. Allegedly, insiders say that this Diddy link has pushed her further underground. Diddy's case keeps twisting. A new indictment adds forced labor. Prosecutors say that he bullied employees into long hours and compliance, some into adult acts. Over 50,000 items from raids, tapes, drives, back it, though none show Mary. One accuser, Ashley Parham, alleges a 2018 SA after a Tupac claim. Victims like her don't list Mary, but the net is widening.
And so I need to give you a massive, flashing red warning here. What I'm about to say is quite disturbing. There's a lot of uncomfortable language. And if you are triggered or upset by assaults and violent assaults, etc., then this is definitely not the show for you tonight. The accuser is named Ashley Parham, and she has agreed to allow her name to be made public. Let's be real clear about that. She is going public with her name. She says that in February of 2018, she met a man named Shane Pierce at a bar, and that Shane FaceTimed Diddy outside on the sidewalk, apparently trying to impress her. But Ashley Parham says that she told both Shane and Diddy on FaceTime that she wasn't impressed. And this is important. She says she believed that Diddy had something to do with the murder of Tupac Shakur and said as much. Allegedly, Diddy warned her that she would pay for saying something like that. So let's just fast forward now to a month later, where she says this guy Shane invited her to come to his apartment. And the lawsuit says, quote, plaintiff and defendant Shane then began to watch a movie, and defendant Shane offered her a glass of water, which he retrieved and brought back to the plaintiff. A few minutes later, Ashley Parham says that P. Diddy showed up with an entourage, including his top aide, Christina Coram, an unnamed woman who is not a defendant in the suit, and 3 unnamed men, one of whom she says was Diddy's driver, and Parham says that that driver waited outside throughout the whole of what I'm about to tell you. Parham says that Diddy was antagonistic from the start and that he put a knife to her face. And now this is where I start reading directly from the complaint. Defendant Shane then partially undressed plaintiff, and then defendant Diddy removed the remainder of plaintiff's clothing, removing the knife from her face, and then retrieved a bottle of liquid from a large fanny pack. Defendant Diddy then squirted a bottle of liquid on plaintiff, which placed her in fear that she was being squirted with a chemical substance like acid. Plaintiff soon realized the substance was an oil/lubricant. Plaintiff was squirted with this liquid substance all over the entirety of her naked body. Defendant KK was then told by defendant Diddy to insert what looked like a syringe from sterile packaging into plaintiff's vagina. Defendant KK did as told, and then told defendant Diddy that she was unable to use the IUD because it had prematurely been released from its packaging, and an IUD is a birth control device. Defendant Diddy, upset by this, took the so-called syringe from defendant KK and tried inserting it into plaintiff's vagina instead. Defendant KK and Diddy began to argue as defendant KK continued to advise defendant Diddy that since the IUD had been prematurely released from its packaging, there was no way they could insert it into plaintiff's vagina effectively. After some time, defendant Diddy heeded the advice of defendant KK and removed the syringe from plaintiff's vagina and handed it to defendant KK. Defendants KK and Jane Doe then exited defendant Shane's residence, leaving the plaintiff alone with defendants Diddy, Shane, and Doe's number 1 and 2. Defendant Diddy then picked up a television remote that was near to plaintiff and violently inserted it into plaintiff's vagina. Defendant Diddy, while violently raping plaintiff with a television remote, told plaintiff that her life was in his hands and that if he wanted, he could, quote, take her, and she would never be seen again. Plaintiff began hysterically crying from the threats by Diddy, along with the pain of being violently raped by defendant Diddy with the television remote, as well as the lingering pain from the ordeal with the IUD syringe insertion. Defendant Diddy then instructed defendant Shane to turn plaintiff on her stomach, seemingly tired of hearing plaintiff's blood-curdling cries. Defendant Shane then grabbed plaintiff by her abdomen and hips and turned plaintiff on her stomach. Defendant Diddy then instructed defendant Shane to put a pillow over her head because he didn't want to see her face or hear her cries, and instructed defendant Shane to rape plaintiff.
Allegedly, she's running not from guilt, but from association. Her legacy too precious to risk. Her silence is deafening, but the truth is that she hasn't completely disappeared. She's actually been busy with her own stuff. Maybe she's not talking about Diddy these days, but she does still talk to her fans. Her latest studio album, Gratitude, came out in 2024. She's currently on tour with Neo and Mario, and just recently she added new dates to her tour in Indianapolis, Nashville, Orlando, and Miami. She also celebrated Women's History Month on her Instagram, so it seems like she's not completely disappeared. She just isn't necessarily talking about Diddy these days. And that makes sense. Given their history, she likely wants to avoid controversy. She has previously hinted at cutting ties with him after the raids. She said on her Instagram that she used to be a people pleaser, but she's not like that anymore. She said that she's willing to burn bridges if necessary, but people would still like her to say something more direct about him. Fans on X plead, "Mary, say something." Others guess she's lawyered up, waiting it out. Allegedly, insiders whisper she's devastated. Not accused, but scared her bad boy past could unravel her peace. She's built a life post-drama, yet this shadow's creeping in. The industry is watching too. Mary's peers, like Usher, who dodged Diddy questions, or Jay-Z, who beat a suit tied to Diddy, stay quiet. Posts on X allege that she knew what was up. No proof, just vibes. Allegedly, she's blasting Diddy privately. Not for crimes, but for dragging her name into this circus. A friendship now a liability. What is she hiding from? Maybe nothing, or everything. Diddy's freak-offs were elite, stars, insiders, and wild nights. Mary's been at his parties, public ones, but no one's got her on tape at the dark stuff. Still, guilt by association stings. Her brand is resilience, yet this could dent it. Allegedly, insiders say that she's not fleeing justice. She's avoiding the noise, the trolls, and the risk of her queen of hip-hop soul crown slipping. Her fans, the Mary Hive, are split. Some love her silence. She's above this. Others dig deeper. What's on those tapes? She's weathered storms, harm, lawsuits that can do split, but this feels different. Diddy's fight is brutal. Mark Agnifilo, his lawyer, calls it unjust. Diddy is pushing the narrative that he's not guilty, claiming consent in any wild nights. Over 25 civil suits pile on. SA, trafficking, some dropped, like one with Jay-Z, but Tony Busby's got more. Mary's not named in filings, just whispers tying her to unseen evidence. Allegedly, she's terrified that he'll name drop to dodge jail, or that accusers will. True or not. So is Mary running? Maybe, but it doesn't seem like it. She's touring and no arrest warrant is out. There is no proof that she's a player in Diddy's crimes, just a name floating in the chaos. The facts? Diddy is charged. Mary is not. Her run is X-hype. Insider leaks, no confirmation. She's built a fortress of soul, yet this shadow tests it. This isn't over. Diddy's trial could spill more. Tapes, names, truths. Mary might stay silent, drop a statement, or rise with a new track. Her way, fans wait, X buzzes, and the industry holds its breath. But what do you guys think about all this? Do you think Mary is worried? Should she be? Let me know in the comments below.